Hello and welcome to Right Sports Talk. My name is Zach. With week 3 of the UFL season in the books, I'm going to get into my game previews and predictions for week 4. Looking back at week 3, my prediction record, I went 4-0 with my predictions, which gives me an overall record of 9-3 on the season. To start off this week, first game on Saturday, April 20th, is the Memphis Showboats, who are 1-2, versus the St. Louis Battlehawks, who are 2-1. These Showboats are coming off of a loss to the Birmingham Stallions, and the St. Louis Battlehawks are coming off a victory over the San Antonio Brahmas. Going to do your little preview for this game. Memphis, their defense isn't playing bad. Their defense has been playing pretty well this season. Has kind of been able to keep them in games. But their problem is their offense. They've got a big problem on offense. They're a very one-dimensional offense. They have no real run game. And Case Cookus is kind of, their quarterback is pretty much their entire offense. And that's not a very ideal way to try and win games if the only thing you really have to work with on offense is your quarterback. And he's got a couple good receiving weapons, and mainly in Vinny Papali. They kind of spreads it out a little bit as well, but they just have not been able to get their run game going. They have possibly the worst run offense in the UFL. Kind of previewing St. Louis. St. Louis is a very talented offense with A.J. McCarron, Hakeem Butler, Marcel Aitman at receivers. Very good, very talented offense, especially in the passing game. And their defense has done enough to kind of keep them in games. The Battlehawks are a team that could be undefeated right now if it weren't for, in week 1, Jake Bates, the kicker for the Michigan Panthers, kicked a 64-yard field goal to win the game. So the Battlehawks defense has been good, and they've been able to keep them in games, and their offense is coming along over the past couple weeks. It is early on in the season, so it's going to take a little bit for offenses to start catching up to defenses. But in terms of the Battlehawks, it looks like that's starting to happen. Moving on to my picks for this game. My pick is the Battlehawks. I think St. Louis wins this. I think as long as they can keep Case Cookus in check and not let him just throw all over their defense and take over the game, then I think they can have a pretty good shot at winning this game. Moving on to the second game of Saturday's slate, you have the DC Defenders, who are 2-1, versus the Birmingham Stallions. The DC Defenders are coming off of a comeback victory over the Arlington Renegades, and the Birmingham Stallions are coming off of a victory over the Memphis Showboats. DC, the Defenders, kind of similar to Memphis, they have a fairly one-dimensional offense. Their quarterback, Jordan Teamu, is playing very well. Their issue is they had a lot of turnover in their receiving core since last season. A lot of new guys in that receiving core, so still trying to get comfortable with them. But Jordan Teamu has been playing well over the past few games. The run game hasn't really been there a whole lot. I think that the fact that they lost their starting running back, Abram Smith, to a season-ending injury before the season started is having an effect on that DC offense. So it looks like they try to get the running game involved, but nobody's really there yet. And Jordan Teamu is still trying to get comfortable with his receivers. But the past couple games, they have done enough to get wins. And their defense has, not played bad. Most defenses in the UFL are pretty good, especially because offenses are still trying to catch up and, get that chemistry with each other. On the Birmingham Stallions have actually a very good defense. They're very good at getting after the quarterback. They had 8 sacks in week 3 against the Memphis Showboats. Very, very good at rushing the passer with that defense. And their quarterback, Adrian Martinez, who has not started the first 2 games. Their starter for the first 2 games was Matt Corral, who was playing very well. But in week 3, they threw Adrian Martinez as the starter, and he had 378 total yards with 3 total touchdowns. So a very good showing against the Memphis Showboats. And they're one of the more balanced offenses in the UFL with the ability to run as well as, pass. And Adrian Martinez adds an extra element in the run game. He's a very athletic quarterback. Moving on to my pick. My pick for this game is the Birmingham Stallions. They are the last undefeated team left in the UFL. They are two-time defending USFL champions. They have won 10 games in a row dating back to last season in the USFL. And until somebody can show me that they can beat the Birmingham Stallions, I'm going to pick the Birmingham Stallions. Moving on, there was a third game this Saturday. Usually they've been doing it 2 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday. This week they are doing 3 games on Saturday. So the final game of Saturday is the Michigan Panthers, who are 2-1, taking on the San Antonio Brahmas, who are also 2-1. The Panthers coming off a win over the Houston Roughnecks, and the Brahmas coming off of a loss to the St. Louis Battlehawks. Michigan has another team with a pretty balanced offense, and their quarterback, E.J. Perry, has been a big component of that because he's a very sneaky, athletic quarterback that has been able to make a lot of plays with his legs. He's got 4 rushing touchdowns, which is by far most amongst quarterbacks. It might still lead, as of their game this past weekend, before all the games were over, he had the lead in rushing touchdowns. I believe that might still be the case. So E.J. Perry, very good athletic quarterback, or very sneaky athletic quarterback. He doesn't look like somebody that would be able to run around like he does, but he just keeps finding ways to make plays with his legs, whether that's just extending plays or obviously rushing for touchdowns, rushing for first downs. Just getting key rushes and key moments is kind of what he's been able to do. And on top of that, they have a very good they have actually 2 very good running backs, but their main running back is Wes Hill, who was the USFL leading rusher last season, still playing very well into this season. And their defense, they've got a quietly good defense. Their defense just keeps making plays. They're a team that they'll get a couple turnovers a game, 1 or 2 turnovers. They gets the quarterback a few times. But they're not. You're looking at their stats. They're not blowing anybody out of the water with their stats. It's just they don't really give up a whole lot of points. So what they've done is they don't give up a whole lot of points, and they score just enough points to win. That's all that you really need to do. Moving on to the San Antonio Brahmas, they've got a very good defense, and their quarterback Chase Garbers is very easy to overlook him for how good he has been playing this season. Over the first 3 games, he's played very well. They're another team that their run game is kind of not fully there on offense. They rely a little bit too much on their quarterback and their passing game, and kind of have relied on their defense. In the first couple games, their defense didn't really hold up against the Battlehawks this past weekend. So let's see if that improves as they go into their game with the Michigan Panthers. See what head coach Wade Phillips kind of draws up for that defense. Going into my pick for this game, I'm going to go with the Michigan Panthers. I think the difference maker in this game is going to be E.J. Perry for Michigan and just what he can do as a runner in those key situations. I think that if he's going to be able to make plays with his arms, the defense may focus so much on his running ability now that he's shown what he can do over the first 3 games that they may overlook what he does as a passer, and that could wind up costing them. And then I think that Michigan's defense, again, is going to do just good enough. They're just, they're going to give up less, they are going to give up less points than their offense scores. That's how you win football games. If your team can score more than the other team, you're going to win. That's how Michigan's defense is kind of played the first 3 games. So I got the Michigan Panthers in this game. Moving on to the final game of the weekend. It is the only game on Sunday, April 21st. It is the Arlington Renegades, who are 0-3, taking on the Houston Roughnecks, who are also 0-3. It's the battle of defeated teams. One of these teams has to get their first win this week. The Renegades are coming off of a pretty heartbreaking loss to the DC Defenders, giving up a comeback victory. And the Houston Roughnecks are coming off a loss to the Michigan Panthers. I'm going to be honest, the Roughnecks have not looked great in their first 3 games. I'll talk more about that. Talk about them as a whole. I'm going to start off talking about the Arlington Renegades. They've got a very good passing game. They've got a very experienced quarterback in Luis Perez. Their running game is kind of like, it's not as bad as some of the other teams. They could improve on it, but I think their running game is kind of good enough at this point to help them stay in games. Unfortunately, they haven't been able to get a victory. They've had some very close losses. But Arlington's biggest problem is their defense just gives up too many points. Their defense gives up the most points on average in the UFL over the first 3 games of the season. That is it's been their biggest issue. Their offense has done good, but not good enough to outperform how their defense has been playing and outperform how many points their defense has been giving up. Now on the other side of that, the Houston Roughnecks, they have a pretty good defense, but their offense is just struggling. Their offense has struggled to run the ball and pass the ball. They had their backup quarterback in for the Michigan Panthers. 2 weeks ago, their starting quarterback went down. So then their backup, Reed Sinnott, got some playing time in week 2 and looked really good. And in week 3, he just did not look anywhere near what he looked like in week 2. And their run game has kind of not really been there at all, and they have struggled to score points. They are actually tied with the Memphis Showboats for the least average points per game. And actually Memphis's only win came week 1 against the Houston Roughnecks. So the Houston Roughnecks have been struggling this season. Shame. In fact, they have a bunch of talent on their team. I thought they would do better, but I think the quarterback position, even in these spring leagues, the quarterback position is a very important position, and they just don't have the talent there right now. Moving on to my pick. I'm going to go with the Arlington Renegades. So I'm going to pick the Renegades to get their first win. I think Arlington will score, more points than Houston. I think their offense is a better offense. I think that their defense will be able to hold Houston's offense to a low number of points. I think, Arlington, because Arlington can score points. So I think they're going to have no real issue scoring points. I think Houston is going to struggle to try and keep up with them. And I think Arlington gets the win here. So those are my picks for week 4 of the UFL season. Let me know if you guys agree. Let me know in the comments. Let me know, what your thoughts have been on the UFL season so far. I've enjoyed it thus far. There's, a few players that have kind of, started to stick out to me and kind of, show a lot of talent in this spring league. If there's any players that you really like currently, in the comments, let me know, who you like, why you like them, who you think is gonna get the win this week, the teams you think are, gonna pull out wins this week. And until next time, see ya.